Holy Emmanuel, Selassie, I, Jah, Rastafari, I give thanks, you know. Yes, I give thanks to you for yet another blessed day. Give thanks to you for this day, the 28th day of January. Give thanks for the momentous moment going to the earth. Do you all know what today is? Today is the Buckley's uprising, the strike of 1935, 28th day of January. This strike, this uprising took place right here in St. Kitts and was a pivotal point in the changing of events when it comes to the forming of unions. When it came to statehood, when it came to independence, this place, St. Kitts, known as the mother colony, that's the reason, and there's a reason why it was called, and it is called that. In the history books, that's what they say about it. 1935, sugar workers decided they had enough. They was promised pay, a bonus, and the bonus never happened for them. And they took matters into their own hands. So come with me. We are gonna head to the celebration for the commemoration of such event. And I myself gonna come in and be filling in and showing you all, you know, some of the things that have been left out on the narrative. Yeah? Some of the things that was not said, you know, and line them up. As a man that deal with numbers, same way to, you know, as a numerologist myself, you know, I man study numbers to a certain level. I wouldn't call myself a professional in the craft, but I study numbers enough to know, you know, and yeah. So I got some dates of some events that happened here. Like for instance, should I give you the gem right now, or should we wait? I think I'm gonna wait. There's a gem right here in St. Kitts. I'm gonna let y'all know what's up. So follow me as we go to the event, you know, hosted by the Nyabingi Theocracy Order here in St. Kitts. And give thanks, you know, that they could be the custodians of such event. And they've been doing this for a number of years now, and calling on the government officials for them to even give more, you know, representation to the area, you know, in which the place called Buckley's, you know, and you know, even making a park, making something that, you know, can live through on generations and ones who are from St. Kitts, you know, who come to St. Kitts can see what took place here, and, you know, the things that happen to change events and time. So come with me, you know, to the Buckley's Uprising celebration, you know, 28th of January 2023, and give thanks, you know, for the Black Christ salvation. Give thanks, you know, for all good things said and done. Holy Emmanuel, I, Selassie, I, Jah, Rastafari. Yes, my Lord and Majesty. Blessed Lord.
Navigator Mr. Blake. Yeah, Rastafari. You know, and all the distinguished guests, give thanks for coming out to this, the 88th anniversary of the Buckley's Uprising. And as I take over the program this afternoon, before I call any more speakers, I want to put in my 2 cents. And I want to talk hard, and I want to talk vex, and I want to be serious. I am only 37 years old. Just made that the other day. And I've been here for quite a while with my fellow brethren, commemorating this activity. And it hurts me to see that we invite the leaders, they come to participate and talk and make promises. We heard of an utterance, I'll put it that way, made this week by the Cabinet Secretary. Not even the Prime Minister himself, but the Cabinet Secretary. Something of this magnitude needs the attention of the highest office. And it is sad to see that so long we are here, so long this thing happened, 1935, the labor movement, Labour Party, People's Action Movement, unity, and still nothing. But this year, in preparations for this commemoration, the Nyabingi House came up with 5 pillars in which we would like to see the Buckley's Uprising taken forward. One of those pillars, first and foremost, that this day be observed as a national holiday in recognition of the struggle. This day should be deemed a public holiday. That's one. 2, we are asking for the martyrs to be recognized and made national heroes, because they fought before Bradshaw. Bradshaw was a child when the fight going on. Maybe he was a part of it. Kudos to him. He was already 19 at that time. So he was a man. 18. Okay. Close. Still adult. Nonetheless, he was able to decide whether he wanted to be a part or not. But what I'm saying, those persons who lost their life, who sacrificed, who contributed, that we could have better today, should be recognized. And highly recognized. That's 2. We also feel that this story should be part of our school curriculum, because it speaks to our heritage from whence we came, and that should be part of our basic education. We also feel that where we are today, we should not be commemorating this event. And if you take a look to my left, there was a pledge made to allocate or identify 1 point something acres for a monument, or I can't quote the words, right? But what I am saying, and I want you to say with me, is for the government to repossess this land right down to the main road and make it a national park. We just don't want no statue. We want an area that can accommodate the whole country. So when we gather to celebrate this milestone, the whole country can fit. We don't have to be in the road under to tent. It's a disrespect to see the persons who say that we come from the belly of the rebellion would sell the land to an individual that he one could make millions when all of us could be benefiting from the legacy of our ancestors. I find it is unfair. And I want you, us as a people, to stand against this injustice. It should be many persons born here, died here, grew up here. And to see we have no connection to it. We are in the road celebrating and recognizing our ancestors who fought on these lands, fought for these lands. The farmer leader said he took back the lands in the name of the people. And to see today, we have nothing to represent our martyrs. It's unfair. It's unfair. Do the research. You don't want to lie about it. Still, my virgin, we know who did it, we know when it was done. The document is there. It is unfair whether he's a citizen, by birth, by passport, whatever. It is unfair for one man to be making millions off of a land that should be a national heritage site. And for that reason alone, I want us, just as it happened in 1935, I would like for us to lobby the government for this area from the old estate house here right down to the main road to be repossessed and nationalized and made a park where you can accommodate statues, museums, monuments, etc. And we have green space where we can come with our children, tell them about the history. We don't want just a statue. I give thanks. That's my contribution. I now resume to regular programming. I would now like to call Brother Conwes, representative for constituency 3, to make his presentation this afternoon as part of the 88th anniversary of the Buckley's Uprising. Give thanks before you have to burn. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. I do hope when the fires start to burn, you can take the heat. A pleasant good afternoon to everyone here. Let me first apologize for my tardiness, as my calendar said that the event was at 4 p.m. And so please accept my apologies. Allow me to acknowledge the presence of the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Honorable Lanny Blanchett. Thank you for your presence here this afternoon. Ambassador for Cuba, our dear friend. I see members of the government, permanent secretaries, former representative I just recognized, Mrs. Akila Byron Nisbet, members of the Nyabingi Theocracy Order, and all who have come out here this afternoon. Today I will not be long. The history is well known. The estate workers had had enough. They rose up and they demanded better. An uprising ensued and sparked a fire throughout the Caribbean, leading to the Moyne Commission and effectively the birth of Caribbean democracy. 3 lives were lost and 9 were injured. Over the past decade or so, I have sat here, I've spoken here, and I've heard the lamentation of the freedom fighters for recognition of this most significant and pivotal moment in the history of St. Kitts and Nevis and the Caribbean. At that time, those 10 years or so, I did what I could. I continually sponsored the billboard that is at the entrance to Buckley's estate that bore the names of the martyrs of that fateful January 28th day. I continually sponsored and donated to this event by the Nyabingi Theocracy Order. And I would like to take this opportunity to give tremendous credit to the Nyabingi Theocracy Order for their annual pilgrimage here to the Buckley's estate, when sometimes it seems like no one else was on their side. And I know the sentiments of talk, talk, talk. In fact, I sang a song about talk, talk, talk. But I want to make a very strong point that we must always be well aware of here in St. Kitts and Nevis and in democracies. That nothing much gets done without political will and political activism. It is not sufficient to banter about on the outskirts of politics and say you're not going to get involved, when it is political action that has brought all the results that we enjoy here in St. Kitts and Nevis today. And so you have to get involved. That is where you make your voice heard. That is where you make your point, to say this is what I want, and if you don't deliver, I will choose somebody else. And so I gave a commitment that there will be not much more talk once I am given an opportunity to serve in government. And so I want to report today, that is why I'm not speaking long, that the talking is up. And I invited members of the government to a meeting in which I declared that the lands here must be used for the building of a monument park in honor of the Buckley's uprising. Contrary to popular belief, not all the lands here are sold. That was a smokescreen. In fact, through my investigations, by reaching out to the persons who occupy some of the lands, one of them, for instance, admitted that over the past couple of years, not one official approach to them about the government occupying or taking the lands for the building of the monument park. He has since given his commitment that he will move such that it can form part of the monument park here. This will go all the way back to the hospital wall on the eastern side. It will take up all the buildings you see, the building that you see here, where the mechanic shop is. This building will no longer be here. And so far, we have been able to identify that that is about 1.57 acres, with further discussions to make it even a little bigger. And so I approached the Ministry of Agriculture, who presently controls the lands that are still available here. And we worked together to make a submission to Cabinet, seeking the authority to use the lands for the building of a park. That approval has been, that submission has been approved by the Cabinet of St. Kitts and Nevis. And so, but before I say the next thing, another submission, of course, was made for the establishment of the committee that will be responsible for the erection of the monument park. And perhaps I need to stress on park. It is not going to be a statue. It is not just going to be something chucked in a corner, but it will be a park with the different representations and illustrations, with the museums, an open area that is befitting of what happened here on January 28, 1935. And I heard someone make a comment about the Cabinet Secretary. Why was the Cabinet Secretary making the announcement? Well, this is a transparent government. and he is tasked with the responsibility of reporting what the cabinet has approved. And given that today was coming up shortly thereafter, decision was made that as the parliamentary representative, I could come here and give more of an official announcement that today, January 28, 2023, will be the last day that we will ever have this ceremony out on the street. The Ministry of Agriculture has already agreed that this will be moved, and the goal is that by the 90th anniversary, which is exactly 2 years from now, we will have something of a representation to show the world, to signal to not only St. Kitts and Nevis, not only to the Caribbean, but to the world, that we honor the sacrifices made by not only those 12 persons, 3 who died and 9 who were injured, but all of those who rallied and went against what would have been the better judgment of some, to stand up against the oppressive regime at the time. And so, I am not going to be one of them who just talk and talk. I am going to deliver this as a representative for constituency number 3, in partnership with all of the relevant stakeholders. With respect to the committee will be made up of many different areas, including all of the heritage representation, all of the cultural groups that exist for these things, but importantly, the Nyabingi Theocracy Order will have 2 slots on that committee, the most compared to any other group, because of their long-standing service for this particular event. And so hold me to it. The 90th anniversary will see something that you, your parents, your children, your grandchildren, and generations will be proud of. Thank you for now.
Yes. Let me give the minister a hand again. And thank you for your work, Honorable Minister. But you know, after we bought something there you say, because we are revolutionary fire. And you said, let the fire burn, I hope we could take it because we are the judgment fire blaze. We're not agitating for bashing nothing, but we say it's too long. And remember you talking only in my sleep because I was sleeping all the time. And we like to say, I tell him that we want to wait until the 90th. Make sure next year, the 89, we see this year come to fruition. So those are the things we are holding to you and the fire.
It's not going to be finished by next year.
But you don't know where it is. You're always standing out in anything that you have to. So we give thanks for your word, son, and you say hold it to the 90th, but me holding the government to the 89. I let go. So that's what I say. So give thanks. We just like to make an appeal that the taxi jeep up there is blocking the movement for the person to do the thing. So if you could just make a little movement that the person could go through, and let us have up there one freely, please. Let me continue the moments of the program. Just I take over because I'm going to smoke ganja.
Yeah, give thanks. Yeah, give thanks for the Honorable Congress and those words. You know what I mean? Being a devil's advocate, I was hoping that the DJ would have played his song that he said he sing after, but as he said, talk, he did a song about talk, so let's hope that he does more than just talk, right? All right, give thanks, Brother Congress, and we applaud you. Next up, we bring back our Virgin Creos to do his poem, and then after that, we're going to have a song by, he ain't come King this time, but Farmer King Sakoti.
Blessed good afternoon again to each and every one. Black to the core, and I'm proud of it. It is not just now, it is a long time we breaking sweat for our own bread. Keeping it honest, now more fishy, for people things we eyes never turn red. We put in the work to get what we deserve. It's like they want us to ball and beg. We're not into that. We're ambitious people. Cannot be the burden of being misled. From the look of things, worldwide, 90% of the leaders need to be led. We're not taking intimidation. Trendsetters never been for fear or threat. Life we promoting, freedom warriors until our last breath. Creator alone decide when we make we exit. Yes, we the ones who feeling the squeeze, still contributing to life, where pagan do the opposite. Without any regards, constantly boxing food out of with the black mouths, just to live lavish. Which is a shame. Then they want to what? Demand respect like we foolish? Respect is a two-way street, not a one-way. That's why we had the BUCKLEY'S uprising. Our ancestors against the oppressors. So don't blame us for being more rich. It is in our blood. Long before they accept the fact that we the black legally exist. After hundreds of years of brutalization, now they're trying to right the wrong by telling us that slavery abolished like we stupid. Nonsense they're chatting. We fed up of hearing it. We need to feel, smell, taste and touch it. I don't care vex. The truth is all the yapping that bad mind have going on, it belongs to a toilet. Black to the core, I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
There you have it. First part of the reasoning concerning the BUCKLEY'S uprising that took place here in St. Kitts. So like promised, and I said I will come in and make an input and bring a little more clarity to what has been said. So I want to first start with the chronological events that took place here in St. Kitts and it leading up to. And like I say, I'm going to line some numbers and some dates and everything up for y'all so y'all could see the whole thing, like from my eyes, my perspective, you know. I will start by reading 1934 December, the Wade Estate paid their workers a Christmas bonus of 8 shillings per ton of cane cut. Other estates paid only 3 shillings per ton cut. Some estates refused to pay any bonus to their workers. January 1935, there were cane fires on several estates nearby state. January 20th, 1935, estate workers from all over the islands attended a Universal Benevolent Association meeting called by its Secretariat Joseph Nathan. He advised them that since there would be no increase in the price of cane for the 1935 crop, the planters would not be in a position to give a wage increase, and that the wage in force in 1934 should be accepted. This advice was disappointing to many, and some workers left the meeting saying that the UBA had been bribed. Now you could see there, you know, from even that statement, if you are here to represent us as workers, but yet now you're telling us to accept what the planters, the white man, is telling us, well, he can't pay us, basically, and you're trying to make black people accept this. All right, well, but look next door. Look at that plantation next door to us. Like it said, a Wade plantation paid their workers, while the BUCKLEY'S plantation never paid anything. So they was actually looking at the ones next door who got paid something and felt away. I mean, it's just only normal, you know. If we are all black people, we are all, you know, cane cutters, why pay some and some not paid? So that's to show you that there was no, you know, regulation on how planters or estate paid their workers, you know. is basically it was left up unto the estate owner to basically pay whatever they felt to, you know, the workers. So therefore, you know, that would definitely bring some sort of a animosity. You know, it will bring, you know, a high tension in the country. It definitely bring tension because some people are being paid something and some are not paid nothing at all. That's ridiculous. Meanwhile, Thomas Manchester attempted to persuade the estate owners to institute an annual bonus and to make their agreement public before the start of the crop. However, the planters refused to commit to this idea. 1935, the 28th of January, cane cutters at Buckley's estate asked the manager, E.D.B. Dobridge, for wages of 1 shilling per ton. Dobridge refused and the workers went on strike. The strikers marched to Shadwell Estate and persuaded the workers there to join them. By noon, the marchers numbered in 300 to 400 and had arrived at Brighton. Mules and cattle which were harnessed were taken out and the gear damaged to prevent any use being made of the carts. In the early afternoon, the march had reached Lodge. The owner, Philip Todd, informed the approaching workers that they were trespassing and told them to leave. Todd was struck down and he called for a shotgun. The marchers attacked him, broke his gun, beat him, and forced him and his servants into the house. This is how drastic the thing was getting. You know, they wasn't taking no more crap. You know, as you see, they're beating up now plantation owners, breaking up their guns and taking over. Yeah? At Willets, the overseers was seized and ordered to produce a bill so that the working gear of the carts could be disabled. Major Duke and 8 armed policemen overtook the march at Estridge and arrested 5 of the leaders. The crowd then numbered 200 to 300. It was expected that following the arrest, it would disperse, but Major Duke was instructed to keep his men on the alert. January 29th, 1935. Very few workers reported for work, except at Estridge and Bellevue Estate. Another large demonstration took to the road and headed west. At Sadler's, the marchers stopped outside a shop and ordered a laborer, John Moore, to join them. When he refused, he was struck on the head with a metal pipe. You see that? Yeah, I mean, we're in the struggle. All of us in this thing together. We meet you on the way and tell you, look, this is what's up. You know what I mean? They have arrested such and such. Since yesterday we've been rioting and, you know, we want you to join, and you look like you want to join the slave master still. So you had to get a beating for real. I would second that. At 5 p.m., Major Duke left the area and reported to the governor. He requested the deployment of the defense force and the defense reserve. Meanwhile, Magistrate Bell went into Bastille and returned with Reverend Williams of the Moravian Church, Thomas Manchester and Victor John of the Workers' League, and Clement Malone, a member of the Executive Council. The crowd listened to Manchester's plea for order and many left with him, but a significant number stayed behind. The Defense Force and the Defense Reserve the latter carrying live ammunition, were dispatched to Buckley's estate. At 6 p.m., the governor asked that a warship be sent to St. Kitts from Bermuda and requested reinforcements from the police force in Antigua. The riot act was read, stones were thrown at the armed forces. Now, you see what I just read there? Warships were called in. No, this ain't no easy thing in a British colony. 68 square miles of land. And you calling in warships. That goes to show you, just picture the turmoil that was taking place here. When we talking about fires being set, when we talking about taking over plantations and ordering everybody to join a march, let's go around the whole island and liberate ourselves. Yeah? This wasn't nothing easy for the British Empire to just swallow it. That's why they had to call for reinforcements, even from neighboring Antigua, Bermuda, and different places in the Caribbean. Remember at what point in time we are talking about? The 1930s. I have a few other things to put in, but I will go ahead and read. From 6:15 to 7 p.m., the armed forces attempts to direct the crowd away from Buckley's onto the main road. The police were unable to control the crowd, and after repeated warnings, shots were fired. 3 men were killed and 8 wounded. At 9:30 p.m., all was quiet. January 30th, 1935. At 2:30 a.m., the Lady Nelson arrived in St. Kitts with the additional men from Antigua. We're talking about a warboat, a warship, the Lady Nelson. That morning, large groups of men were still calling out workers to strike. Cane fields in vicinity of Bastille were burnt. January 31st, 1935. The HMS Leander arrived in St. Kitts. Now this is the one that was coming from Bermuda, not just one ship. We're talking about fleets. We're not talking about just one boat with a couple, no, we're talking about a fleet. There are pictures in the archives showing this. I'm actually reading from the National Archives, Government Headquarters, Church Street, Bastille here. Yeah? And like I said earlier, it wasn't easy. It wasn't a time that the British could have really handled. You know what I mean? St. Kitts, the mother colony. Remember that. The mother colony. The sugar cane from here enriched Britain so much. I'm telling you, it was ridiculous. 70% of the island was cultivated on the sugar cane. 70%. That goes to show you a large number of plantations and plantation owners. One bearing the name Lynch's. There is a Lynch's estate here in St. Kitts. Now, let me connect that, and everybody should know this by now. William Lynch, Willie Lynch, the man who wrote that letter showing how to put one slave against the next based on differences. The shorter against the taller, the darker against the lighter one. William Lynch. One of the places here in St. Kitts up until this day bears that name, Lynch's. What did they do in America to black people? Lynching, hanging people. We can't deny the words. You cannot deny words. Continue on reading. The victims of the 1935 riot: dead, Joseph Samuel, John Leon, James Archibald. Injured: Alfred Rogers, Cyril Tyson, William Fole, Samuel Woodley, Ellswood, Silkridge, Charles Movin, Olive Allen, Ingrina Greer, Joseph Williams. And those are the people injured. This is just a short synopsis of what, you know, they put out based on what's there in the archives. Further research from myself have shown where this thing was bigger than it really seemed, you know, like how they make it seem on paper, you know. Britain was really, really troubled when they heard what was going on here. It caused, you know, a labor union to be formed, you know. Many things transpired after that. You had the rise of Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw. You had the statehood, you know, that followed. You had independence and all of these things that followed. St. Kitts did set a precedent for that when it came to union. Other than Antigua, is in 1940, the union here was established. Antigua labor union was established in 1939, and this was established here on the heels of that. But you see what took place here? It transcended now, not just from here. Uprisings started taking places in other places when they heard what went on or what was going on here. Uprisings started taking places in other places. I want to bring in at this point the Right Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Marcus Mosiah Garvey was on a tour of the Caribbean. Do you know he happened to stop here in St. Kitts? On the 2nd of November, 1936, Marcus Mosiah Garvey spoke down in McKnight area at the Mutual Municipal Hall down there, right there, and when you're going up there by Market Street. Yeah, there's a broken down building on your left that has been abandoned. The stone structure is still there, you know, because the stonework still survived. But that is where Marcus Garvey spoke when he came here to St. Kitts. That is mystic, very, very mystic, you know. There were chapters of the UNI here, right here in St. Kitts. Yeah. There were many individuals that were in America that was a part of the UNIA that was from various parts of the Caribbean, including right here in St. Kitts. So you could see, you know, the mind of the people, you know, at the time, wanting that justice. And that's why they wasn't taking no kind of crap from not even the UBA and what they were suggesting and Thomas Manchester and all of these ones. They wasn't taking any of that. You know? They really, you know, stood up for themselves. Now, I want to bring something in here at this point. And it involves that same date, you know, January 28th. January 28th. I'm going to tell you numbers. What happened? January 28th. 1623. Listen to this date. January 28th. 1623. What happened? We're talking about 300 years earlier. 300 years after what I'm about to tell you, the Buckley's riots happened. Exactly 300 years. 3 is a mystic number, followed by the 2 zeros. Well, let me tell you what happened here on January 28th, 1623. No, we're actually celebrating it 300 years, like I just said. Now, do you know a man by the name of Thomas Warner, a man? Let me put it that way. For those who know what I'm talking about when I say men. Yeah. Well, Thomas Warner was one of the explorers for the British Crown. And in 1622, after hearing a description of Lyamega, yeah, from Thomas Peyton, Thomas Warner visited the island to see if it would be a good place to start a settlement. He was treated courteously by the Kalinago inhabitants. Who are the Kalinago people? The Kalinago people came up to from South America up to Central and Caribbean. The Kalinago people is who determined as Caribs and Arawaks and these different type of names that they give. I've seen a picture myself of the archives, the Kalinago people. Very dark people. Black people, you may say, you know. who arrived in South America. I mean, if you know the history or our story, if you go down to Peru, you know, you could see pyramids still existing of the Mayan people, you know. So those are the same people that came north, came up into what you call the Caribbean areas and Central America. So that's who he encountered when he got here. Let me jump again. In 1492, Columbus made a voyage where he intended to go, this narrative says, he intended to go to India, and for some storm reason, he ended up in the Caribbean. On his first voyage, or his first mistake, quote unquote, he ended up in what you call today Santo Domingo, or Hispaniola, what you call the whole island, which houses Haiti and Santo Domingo on one island. A lot of people don't know this. Sometimes we feel like it's two different places. Haiti and Santo Domingo are on the same island. Anyway, now when Columbus came back on his second voyage, I think 4 years later from the history book, if I'm not mistaken, you know, if ones have the more correct date can help out. But I think it was in 1496. And he came forward again now. The trade winds, because you know those days they really got motors on the boats. It's oars, and they depended on the currents of the ocean and the winds, you know, the trade wind. And it brought the boat here. The boat came here. Second voyage here. 1496. First island. That's why it bears the name St. Christopher. But what would you call the inhabitants? Like how you call today, you know what, you know, lingo. Me being from St. Thomas, a Tomian. Somebody from Trinidad, a Trinidadian. Jamaican. What would you call the people of St. Christopher? Christians. So they had another terminology, Kitts, St. Kitts, where they went with that, and they, you know, but the legal name, you know, for this territory is St. Christopher, you know, but St. Kitts is like like you would say a pet name, so to speak, but it is a name that is synonymous and everybody knows it now, and it is stuck. So it's St. Kitts, so Kittitians. Yeah? But I'm saying though, that goes to show you, know, that this place here, not only is it a point where if you take in the winds off of the African coast, even when you look at hurricanes today, when they say it comes to the Leeward Islands, it always come around these parts here. Like, or if it go down in the other angle of the trade, when they were hit down in what you call the Windward Islands, you know, stuff like that. Sometimes you take another northern path and you see it going up there by Bermuda and heading up there into Bahamas and, you know, in that region. You know, so these are the different trade winds, these are the different paths that you can take in the ocean to reach different places and navigators and sailors of those time knew ocean current. They studied it because that was the main mode of transportation, the ocean. Nobody was flying anywhere. So basically, you had to definitely just sail wherever you was going. And that is how people got around, basically. Yeah? So, bring it to Thomas Warner now. Now, remember I told you the Buckley's uprising took place 1935, but it took place January 28th. Now, on January 28th, 2023, so on 1623, January 28th, 1623, January 28th. The same day we here celebrating now. 2023, January 28th. Exactly 400 years since the first English settlers, Thomas Warner, and a small number of men arrived at Old Road Bay in the ship called the Marmaduke. They set up a small fortress community between two rivers. So that was the first English settlement. Do you know that they use here as a settling point for other places, to conquer other places? This area for the English was a place where they went out and started, going out into the other places then and start conquer. But the first English settlers, yeah, same date as the uprising. If that ain't mystic, I don't know where else is mystic. Now, there's another individual, and this individual is known as Marcus of the Woods. Yep. Marcus of the Woods. I'm telling you, before there was even a Marcus Garvey, there was a Marcus of the Woods. I'm telling you, the history here is very, 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 very rich. Very rich. Listen to this history. Marcus, a slave who had been born in St. Kitts, first drew attention in 1813 when he ran away from Hutchison's estate and took refuge in the mountains. A listing of runaways that was presented to the council in September 1814 showed that he had been absent from the estate for 10 months and was believed to have caused damage to provision grounds and three stairs. He quickly gained a reputation as a notorious runaway and the predator, and a reward was offered for his capture. By the end of 1815, he and several other runaways were in custody, but because of insufficient evidence, they were spared jail time. However, the council and assembly felt that they had caused enough damage to warrant some sort of punishment. It was also feared that once discharged, they would once again resort to their lawless ways. The solution was to have them spend time on the convict gang. Marcus and his companions were therefore bought by the public. The public is actually, at that time you could say, the government, yeah, from the original owners, and set to work at maintaining the roads and other public works on the island. And stop there for now. Marcus, they didn't give him no other name. They just call him Marcus. But let me put a name to him, because as you know, when you been bought by a particular owner, you take the name of that owner. I have had the pleasure of visiting the archives in 2000. And when I go back and I check the records, you see when you step off of the boat, they give you one name. Whether it be John, Sally, Peter, Paul, whatever name they come up with, they give you that name. Whoever buys you, whoever purchases you, you take that plantation owner's name. So Marcus was actually Marcus Hutchison. They're acting like they don't know this man's name because he was so notorious. So they just want to paint him as, yes, y'all gave him that name, Marcus. Because I know he never left Africa with the name Marcus. But what I'm saying is, this Marcus who came here to St. Kitts, it's mystic that he bears the name of Marcus Messiah Garvey, who rose up when? In 1887. That's when Marcus born. We're talking about a Marcus here in St. Kitts in 1813. Now remember the Haitian Revolution? What year? 1800 what? 3. 1801. All those. So we're talking about around a time, a mystic time, where we see individuals with great spiritual vibrations being born, risen up, or just showing up. The register of 1829 shows a Marcus who had been acquired by purchase from the public among the enslaved workers of Anthony Cunningham. He once again escaped from the estate in 1831 and led a small band of more than 30 runaway that were very, very active on the leeward side of the island between Stone Fort and Van Bell, well in sight of Brimstone Hill. I might say Marcus rose up the UNIA. Marcus Messiah Garvey rose up the UNIA and had millions of followers. Marcus here also had followers, people who was rebellious like him. When you check out the terrain of St. Kitts, for those who know the island, for those who have been here, there are mountains in the middle of this island. The whole, it's a mountain range. Like, I've been in the hills, I've been in the mountains, and when you look, you just see the tops of mountain peaks, just going for miles. And it's all concentrating in the center of the island. The way this island is inhabited, it's circumference around the island. And in the middle portion of it, like I'm stating, it's mountains. Not hills, mountains, touching, like, you know, you could see it, like touching the heavens almost, basically. You know, because you see clouds covering it and da-da-da. You go up there, sometimes you get covered in clouds. That's how high it is. And these individuals took to those mountains. When Marcus escaped, these where he went. To the same mountains. From whence cometh our help. Our help cometh from the Lord, which maketh Zion and earth. The activities of Marcus of the Woods intensified during the summer of 1834. Does that ring a bell? The summer of 1834, what was happening? While Marcus of the Woods intensifying here in St. Kitts. That same summer, August 1st, is known as what? Emancipation Day here in the Caribbean. The Caribbean, not in St. Kitts, in the Caribbean. 1834, the 1st of March, British colonies. We're talking about Jamaica too. And right here, there was a man named Marcus kicking up storm. Same whirlwind God. That's the far right. The activities of Marcus of the Woods intensified during the summers of 1834 when he was wanted for murder. He had a musket in his possession and knew how to use it. During the period of martial law that followed the Declaration of Emancipation, troops were sent into the mountains of the interior in order to convince the Negroes said to have concealed there that their huts at any time accessible by troops. Marcus was cited on that occasion, but the guide who was leading the military party gave their presence away. So basically what he's saying is, they see Marcus, they end up get to see him when the British, the military forces went into the mountains. They actually get to see him at one point. But because he saw them as well, because, like you say, the leading military, the leader for the military search, you know, remember them man living in the hills, so they're more keen to their surroundings. They could pick up a scent of somebody who's sweating. Our scent, when you're in the hills, it's different. You could smell something that is out of place. even before you see it. You know, so they gave themselves away, basically. In the latter date, in a letter dated the 11th of August, 1834, A.P. Pogson, manager of Cunningham's, claimed that no order may be expected in the country unless he, Marcus, is taken. A report to the Assembly in June 1834 showed that there are 94 enslaved persons absent from various estates on St. Kitts. In 1834, listen to what I'm saying again. We're talking about Maroon Town in Jamaica and all these things. I'm not bashing nothing. But they had a Maroon Town here too. 1834, the report came out stating that there were 94 slaves missing from various plantations here in St. Kitts and was residing in the interior, in the mountains, in the hills, in the valleys of this place, 68 square miles. We're not talking about a land like them term these places small island. We're not talking about a Jamaica with 1,000. We're not talking about a Guyana. We're not talking about a Trinidad. We're talking about a place that is only 68 square miles. But with the intelligence of Africans, because that's who we are, first in Kittitians and all those other terminologies are after. We are Africans first, and with the intelligence that we came with, we were able to survive even on a small stretch of land from our captive, our slave masters. That is commendable by the individuals here, Marcus and the others. Recognition needs to be given to that, and I am giving recognition and credence to that. Marcus I, Selassie I, Jah, Rastafari I. Listen this, completing the whole thing. There is no evidence of Marcus ever have been captured again. They captured him one time in the early 1800s, 1815 around there to be exact. Yep, 1815. And as you see, they put him to work someplace and on the streets, and you know, the Cunninghams bought him, so he became now not Marcus Hutchinson, but now Marcus Cunningham. Yeah? And he escaped again. And you can't hold a good man down, you know? Yeah. So that's just another gem right there. Yeah, Jack? Now listen to this. In relation to the Buckley's uprising. This is another thing that people leaving out of the narrative. On the other side of the Atlantic, what was taking place around that time, 1935? Well, we have the invasion of Ethiopia by Italy under Benito Mussolini. Pivotal point in history. Changing point in history. In our story and their story as well. Now, to see how those things could coincide, like you on one side of the Atlantic, African people, and on the other side of the Atlantic, African people. And they both have one cause. One cause. And that's liberation from oppression or aggression, because Ethiopia, as we know, free, never been colonized, and here it is that Italy now want to try. Yeah? We all know the story behind that, you know, those of the Rastafari faith. So we're not really going into that, into any depth. But I'm just showing how our struggles, our cause, our plights, whatever we are feeling, it is one. Now let me bring this to 2034, which will make, what, 200 years of emancipation. 2034 will also be marking around that milestone of 100 years of His Majesty being coronated. He will also be marking the milestone of what took place here in St. Kitts, making it 100 years. It will also be marking that milestone of, you know, when Marcus Garvey came here in 1936. In 2036 will be 100 years from that. Marcus of the Woods in 1834. That will be marking another milestone again. So, I'm saying it now. I don't want to go on record for saying it. No. From the 2030s onward, those of us who inhabiting this plane called Earth will witness and be a witness to some drastic changing in world history, in world events, drastic changes, whether it be to earthquake, lightning, or man. Changes will be made, drastic changes. And we're talking about reparation, repatriation. Remember what I said earlier. African people on both sides of the Atlantic go through the same thing. We might not see it because they over there and we over here. But African people everywhere go through the same thing. And in Africa right now, we could see the exploitation of Africa by the Chinese and the continued exploitation by the Indians and the white men. We could continue to see the Westminster system in the Caribbean. We could still see the capitalism of America. I'm going to leave you all with this song. Give thanks for the 6 o'clock hour, the uprising, Holy Emmanuel, Selassie, Ija, Rastafari. I'm going to leave you guys with this song from the Honorary, you know, Calypsonian here, you know, the King, Socrates.
Pleasant good afternoon to everyone.
Good afternoon.
As we know, I came straight from work. I gave my word I'll be here. So yeah. Now, the Buckley's uprising was roughly just over 100 years after emancipation was declared. Am I right, Congress?
Yes.
Catch up, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. 2034 will mark the 200th year anniversary of the abolition of the Atlantic slave trade. And I question in song, what would it reflect then? The slavery, the Atlantic slave trade, yeah? Right? Okay. So this one is called 2034. It wasn't written for this occasion, but it's all about honoring our history and our ancestry. Shall we? I know you'll be here. Can you just stand and sing? I'll do like this. Listen, play. 2034, we mark the 100 years anniversary to the abolition of the Atlantic slave trade. And in my mind I question how will things be different to now? You celebrated, will it be just a charade? Will the question of reparation still only get lip service? There's strong indication some have no interest in this. Will my people still try to emulate the oppressor's race? And in so doing our own legacy disgrace. Until we learn from our history and pay more attention to our ancestry, we will always claim but we'll never be proud black men and women, embracing every ethnicity but African. I'm a proud native born petition, but I've remained cognizant of the great legacy of my African descent. What about you? You and you, with skin of a lighter hue. You play, you're not African too. Sample. Oh, so devastating is the 400 years of brainwashing that have left us so many must to unlearn. But until we re-educate ourselves, we remain dependent on someone else to tell us how, when and where to make the next turn. They will torture you, even hand you in court learning to read, then teach you from the Bible, the oppressor's creed. Now we have the opportunity to embrace our history. It's a duty to make sure our children get that legacy. Yes, until we come to terms with our history and learn to appreciate our ancestry, we will always claim but will never be proud black men and women, embracing every ethnicity but African. I was born in the Caribbean, but remain cognizant of the great legacy of my African descent. What about you? You and you. I don't share his conscience. Definitely. Mother Africa has been gangway by every industrial nation in recorded history, who is quick to employ this tragedy of using reverse psychology for blaming blacks, puzzling black into history. While we engage in finger pointing, the gangway continues. While we are debating the conflicting views, China has put Africa under the economic gun. How long will Africans have to get burned to learn? Here's the question. Until we come to terms with our history and learn to appreciate our ancestry, we will always claim God will never be proud black men and women while embracing every ethnicity but African. I'm a not proud native politician, but will always represent the great legacy of my African descent. Thank you so very much.
Well done, well done. Let me give a hand for the king.
Given some level of authority and then turn around and have to pledge allegiance to our colonial masters, then we are not restoring the legacy of 1935. We must build our monuments and our museums to tell our story. How else would the children know? How else would they learn? Because all we're seeing on television and the billboards around the country is something either promoting sex or alcohol. Nothing uplifting. So until we get the opportunity to build our monuments and have our museums, then we will be making a move to restore our legacy. I want to also leave one last thing with those in authority. When you look around at our people are so unhealthy. There's a great percentage of our population that is very sick. A lot of it is because of our lifestyle, what we eat and how we eat. And I am challenging the government. If you want to restore the legacy of 1935, all the things that contribute to these non-communicable diseases must be either taken off the shelf or made really hard to get. We must see a holistic approach to our health system. Because if we don't have a healthy people, we don't have a healthy nation. I said last, but this is last, because it speaks directly to our elders. I just experienced dealing with my dad in his last few months. And when I reflect on the level of health care that is given to our elders in this country, we have a long, long way to go if we are to restore the legacy of 1935. One Black Love, give thanks.
Give thanks, but let me give a hand again. You say a lot to feed on. I hope, and I would like to grace in our President, our Minister for Infrastructure and the representative of the area of constituency number 3, the Honorable Congressman. Thanks for coming in our grace. And we hope that you take these words what the Virgin just fire out to the cabinet and let them know it's fire red hot. And we are here to educate, not dictate, educate our people. Because that is what the moment of time is called for. So give thanks again, Brother Iri, for bringing these great words of inspiration, because we know our young generation needs a lot of confidence in this year time. Now, this is the time, we would like to know if we must do. Go with the plaque or bring on the minister. Which one? It's up to you all, because me I feed off for the energy. So, okay then, so we're going with the plaque, as we just get word sound. So we'd like to now have the recipients them come forward to receive the honorary plaques within the moment of time. So we'll ask some young ones to come and give the presentation to the ones who receiving the honorary plaque. We were supposed to have some school youths, but it didn't come out, so we're working, working with what we have here, so we have to have the initiative to make it be positive in what we're doing. Give thanks to our president of our recipients for the honorary plaque, the matriarch of the BUCKLEY'S area, Mama Huggins, you can take you forward. Sister Angela, take you forward. And Mama Shaki, make sure to the Naya Bingi house, take it forward. And the recipient of Thomas Fergus, Mother Sister, take it forward to receive the honorary plaque. We have another one we're supposed to be giving. Come Kizzy, because you can't hold it from my and I remember I'm a visionary, so our voice always seems far off. Come take it forward, Sister Kizzy, you well deserve it. So these are the recipients of the honorary plaque, and Star Shield's daughter will be on his behalf, because we don't like to have our Allah, who is a farmer of the art farm when it comes to Calypso. He's receiving the plaque, but he had some issues today, so we say we have him in our place, so his daughter will be receiving it on his behalf. So let us give each of the recipients them a hand to gain being in our grace to receive the plaques. Powerfully. Bless it up. Bless it. Bless tune, yeah? Yes. So let us say that thanks for the sacrifice the women them stand up against the militia when they try to kill our men in pursuit for the march right through the Isles of St. Kitts. So we know without the women them, I and I will never be here today. So we ain't fear to say we honor our mothers, because we bow to them anytime, because they are our creation. Blessed love for Mother Earth. All our women here, give thanks, blessed strength. So we will have the young ones them come and participate in giving the honorary plaque for I and I. Yes, forward, the young ones. Okay, yes, I will. Majesty, give thanks. And the first recipient, I will just like to read it on so the people can understand what we're saying here.
The 88th anniversary presented to Sister Vivian Huggins Martyr, matriarch of the Buckley's Estate, 28th January 2023.
Yes, yes. Give thanks, Elder Matriarch. Give thanks. Hold on the plaque, hold the plaque, yes. You're welcome, Elder, you're welcome every time. Let us give a hand again. Let us give a hand. Bless the Lord. Bless it.
88th anniversary presented to Watson Shield, aka Star Shield, for music in the struggle of the Buckley's Uprising, 28th January 2020. Anniversary presented to Sister Andrea Joseph as administrative office support towards Buckley's Uprising, 28th January 2020. The next plaque will be given to Sister Sherilyn Adolphine in journalism towards the Buckley's Uprising, 1935 to 1986, 28 January 2023.
watch over here for my company.
Okay, hold on.
Good afternoon, everyone. Right now, my head swell big that I'm being recognized because I go all over St. Kitts, taping people, carrying them live, and they thank everybody else except me. So I want to thank the Nayabingi and for doing this for so long. The first time I heard about it, I had just come back home, moved back home, and I came up here and stand up down the road because I didn't know where to go. Because as a little girl, I don't remember ever coming up here. So I stood up down there for a while, wondering where to go. When I did get the courage to come up here, and I went by the liquor bar, the gentleman told me it's lasted about 15-20 minutes and it's finished. So the next day I was up here like a couple of hours before it's supposed to start. And that has been the trend with me since then. I try to come every year. I'm sorry that Mr. Ennis is not here because he was so dedicated to this. And so in his memory, when they had the moment silent, I was saying, thank you, Mr. Ennis. So I'd like to thank the Nayabingi people, the group. Thank you all very, very much for this recognition.
Thanks a lot. And I would just like to make a quick note. The white Jeep, they say is parked in a kind of way, so they would like to know the owner of the white Jeep behind the Greg car, to if they could just make the traffic flow a little. Oh, is the speaker, sorry. It's okay. So we continue with him, and we would like to have recognize our elder Clark who's in the hospital. We have our prayers and thoughts go forward for Elder Clark. Bless the Lord. We continue with the proceeding.
As long as it's behind the speaker, it's not a problem. You can put it.
What's in the camera?
88th anniversary presented to Brother Thomas Fergus in honor of being imprisoned for 5 years during the BUCKLEY'S uprising, 28 January 2020. 80th anniversary presented to Sister Kizian Warner, Administrative Office Support towards BUCKLEY'S Uprising, 28 January 2022. 80th anniversary presented to Sister Ishaki Hess, Mama Matriarch of Nayabingi Theocracy Order, 28 January 2020.
Give thanks, let me give a hand for all the recipients who are able to sign out and get the honorary plaques. It's not easy, and we would like to say thanks to the sponsors who have made this year possible for everyone who have able to receive these plaques in the highest order. And we would like to have a good photo before everything. So just let me get a little music and we got a good photo, and then we go into the proceeding and continue the program. So give thanks.